My name is Ryan. My friend Kyle and I have taken our barroom conversations to the internet in the form of Michigan's most up-and-coming sports talk podcast. From baseball to Bigfoot, we cover it all. You're in for a treat because you have found the Turbo and 2K show. Welcome back, 2K crew. It is Turbo 2Ks. You probably figured that out. That's why you clicked on the motherfucking show. But I just want to take a quick second again, guys and gals, and say thank you for the 6 months. And here's to many, many 6 months more. So, all right. Well, this is going to tickle a lot of people's fancy because we're going to jump into some fantasy fucking football. And we're going to dedicate the whole episode to it. So I think a lot of people are going to be stoked for this because I know I am. Morgan's losing her fucking mind. I didn't know she was a fantasy football fan. So if she seems a little bit more rambunctious, that's why, because she's stoked as shit to get this fantasy football league started. So you ready to go savage on this 2Ks?
Yes, sir. Speaking of savage, did you happen to see the score of that Boston Yankees game?
Did I see it?
Oh my gosh.
Did I see it? I had a huge fucking heart on watching it.
Talk about some fucking savages. The only thing is, it wasn't the Yankees that were being fucking savages in that batter's box. It was Boston.
No. And like you and I were chatting before we got the show kicked off, is that the Yankees and Red Sox have been meeting for over 100 years. Mm-hmm. And someone did some math, and I forget the exact number, but they've met over 2,000 times. So it's not like they've just met. And last night, the Red Sox set a record for not only runs scored in a Yankees-Red Sox game at most extra base hits. So we're saying that, and we're probably going to jinx the fuck out of them because they're probably going to get 2 hits, and who knows what's going on. But we are coming to you on Friday, and we actually have said Yankees-Red Sox up on the screen at the studio, chilling at the bar. So what we're going to do today is we have a tentative draft date. And when I say tentative, I mean it's a date that works for 2Ks and I. We have not set a venue yet. So we're looking at August 23rd, probably about 7:30-ish. And that is a Friday for those that can't do calendars. And here's what we're going to do. And this is going to be the important fucking part. I want the money and we're doing everything via PayPal. So that way I don't have to chase people down for to give them their money. Because honestly, if I have to chase you more than 5 days, it's my money. Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm an asshole like that. But when you've run leagues as long as I have, normally you don't have to chase people giving them money. It's usually chasing them to get their money. Mm-hmm. And what we're going to do is we're going to make the money due in my PayPal the 21st at 5 o'clock. So that way, and that's a Wednesday. So that later that evening or possibly Thursday evening, we'll go live on Facebook and do the draft order then. So everyone kind of has a game plan of where they're drafting at, what's going on. Price is $50. My PayPal email address is Ryan Michael Jackson 36@gmail.com. And I will post all of this in the Facebook group and as well as my personal Facebook. So I just want to get that out of the way. And tentatively, we're looking at, for those that are local, I know that I've gotten two folks that don't live in the state. So we are doing we are doing a live draft on probably ESPN. Just because I got into, we'll say most likely ESPN. Because I know they'll allow me to set the scoring the way I want to. And I would really hate to try to go live on a draft on a platform I'm not really 100% sure about. So, and everyone's used ESPN for one way or another. So might as well keep it easy for the first one. We are not doing a keeper league this first time around. Possibly next year we'll start a keeper. But we just want to get the first one off the ground and running so we can get all the pub, all the hype. Give me all your money. So, and we will pay me, maybe second, third, and fourth, but me in particular. Because I'm winning this bitch. I don't care what anybody says. So if you don't believe me, man up and give me your money, and I might give it back. That's how this shit's gonna roll. Well, what we're gonna do is 2K crew is we're not gonna give you the lame old, well, this guy should be ranked this where I'd take him here, I'm gonna take him here. what we're going to do is we have two lists. We have a list of players that might have changed situations, different spots, different there's different things that are going on with them this year as opposed to last year, even earlier in their career. And then we're going to talk about the second list is, are these players top 5 in their position? Now, this is kind of an episode where 2Ks and I were like, well, we don't want to give away all of our draft secrets.
Yeah, that was the first thing I said.
So, you know what? These might be our opinions.
Yeah.
We might be feeding you a load of shit. This is where the psychological warfare begins, but ultimately I think that you're going to most everyone's going to I'm not going to say agree with us, but they'll definitely see where we're coming from. So, Mr. 2Ks, let's start off with players in different situations, different spots. How ultimately is it going to affect their draft status this year as opposed to years past? So let me give you a name. And probably one of the hottest names in the offseason is Mr. Antonio Brown.
Oh, yeah.
And for those of you, I'm sure everyone that's listening to this has played fantasy football. 9 times out of 10, Antonio Brown went off the board probably after the first 5 running backs in most leagues.
Yeah, he for probably the last, I know for a fact the last 2 years he's been maybe one of maybe 2 wide receivers that were going in the first round in a lot of drafts that I was in. And like you said, after you get past those first 5, maybe 6 running backs, Brown was probably your next best option.
Yeah.
But for me, with him this year, there's too many question marks with him changing into a whole different offense. And I know everything went south with him in Pittsburgh with Ben, but him and Ben were on the same page when it came to on the field and it's the back shoulder throws and targeting him 15, 20 times a game. I mean,
regardless what their beef was off the field,
yes.
On the field, the product was still the same.
Absolutely.
However, when he was on the field,
yeah.
If you remember,
the biggest week of the season, and he's no show,
just not going to play. And for those of you that are wondering, I did print out, and this is the first real draft research, I guess you could say, that I've done so far, that I've looked at. And the ESPN, the PPR league or league cheat sheet, it has this is the one that has it broken down by positions. And they have Antonio Brown at 7.
Yeah.
So potentially went from the number 1 wide receiver, definitely a first round pick, unless you're playing in a 5-man league, which I don't even know if those exist, but if you do, you probably have a badass team. But so going from the first overall wide receiver to 7, and to me, I think that's a little too high.
Really?
Yep.
Really? I'm looking at it thinking maybe he's a little bit too low. And I don't think he's in the top 5. No. But I would say maybe he's at number 6, just outside of the top 5. But he has that potential to maybe be in the top 3 when the season's over. We just don't know. There's too many question marks.
Ultimately, Carr's not a bad quarterback. In this last few years, they've had really great offensive line. Him and Gruden maybe, but to me, I'd put him outside the top 10 as of right now. As of right now, I'd put him outside the top 10. Now, when we do this kind of recap show after we're done, you're very right. He could still be in that number 1, 2, or 3 slot.
Yeah, you're looking at this wide receiver list. It's so nuts to try to put these guys into an order because, you're talking about. I'm looking at names that are outside of the ESPN top 10, and the first one I see that just kind of jumps to mind is Adam Thielen. How is Adam Thielen outside, at number 14, or AJ Green at number 15? And I'm like,
Amari Cooper at 12.
Yeah. So,
and then even Stephon Diggs is below Adam Thielen.
Yeah.
To me, right now, if I'm drafting, I would take either one of those guys before AB.
Yes. Yeah, I mean,
And ultimately, as I'm sitting right now, I would take Smith-Schuster over him, hands down.
I mean,
Hands down.
if you're being safe, I agree with you. I agree with you on that. But to me, and the reason why I have Brown probably on my list as number 6 is I'm looking at upside.
Absolutely.
You know, maybe first you might not get what you want out of him in the first 3 or 4 weeks, but I'm saying don't panic.
No.
Let him get through the first month of the season, get a feel for things in there, and he has the potential to turn a 5-yard slant pass into a 85-yard touchdown.
Absolutely.
He's a big play waiting to happen.
Mm-hmm.
He is the man in Oakland. They're going to figure out ways to get him the ball. They're going to figure out ways to get him the ball in space to let him make these big plays. And as long as he's healthy, he's too talented to not just slip out of the top 10 to me if he's healthy.
And John Gruden's got that YX upside down banana play that he used to talk about on Sunday night or Monday Night Football. So
isn't that like a pass to the fullback or something too?
Hell, I don't know. With him, you never know. But just to kind of give you guys and gals, a kind of if you guys haven't pulled up the draft sheet that we're talking about, they have Davante Adams at number 1.
Yeah,
which I don't agree with. DeAndre Hopkins at number 2, which he would be my number 1.
I agree.
Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, OBJ, Tyreek Hill, then Antonio Brown, Smith-Schuster, Keenan Allen, and Mike Evans round out the top 10.
So I agree with you with Hopkins number 1. The thing with Adams, I would just flip-flop him. I would have Adams as my number 2. I don't have him falling out of the top 2. Just flip-flopping him and Hopkins.
You would have Davante Adams. Now, if Randall Cobb was still there, I might be on board with that. But right now, I would take Julio Jones, Michael Thomas over Davante Adams right now. That's just my opinion.
See, I think Rodgers is set to go off this year. And and I look back to in Rodgers' big seasons, when he had Jordy and
Mookie Betts is still fucking savage from last night. Look at that solo home run, bottom of the first.
But no, I look back to Rodgers when he was really throwing up top quarterback numbers, and he had his safety blanket in Jordy, and then he had Randall Cobb in his prime, and then Davante Adams was just coming up, and to me, where Davante Adams, the talent that he has, he's the best, hands down, the best wide receiver that Rodgers has ever had, talent-wise. Yeah. Now, what he had as far as, just the way that him and Jordy gelled together, and, it was perfect. They always knew what each other were doing on the field.
It's like Tom Brady and Edelman.
But Rodgers has never had a wide receiver other than that has been ever as good as Davante Adams.
You can't argue that at all.
And I think he's set to go off. And, Randall Cobb, losing him, I don't think it's the same Randall Cobb that, 2-3 years ago. I don't think it's the same Cobb then. But, there was a lot of promising things that we saw out of that Geronimo Allison last year, to where I think he's going to step up and play a role. And, the kid, your boy from Notre Dame.
I was just going to say that.
I think he's going to show
Brown?
up. Yes. And so I think that
Equanimous.
They might not have the top end names to kind of take the pressure off of Adams, but I think they have with the depth. And you still have Jimmy Graham in there. I mean, I don't think he as many passes and get as many yards as Hopkins, and that's probably why I got Hopkins as number 1. But I think come the end of the season, Davante Adams probably will have the most touchdown catches.
It could be. And you know what? Let's stick with the wide receivers here and go Mr. Beckham Jr., OBJ. And what did we say? ESPN has him at number 5. Now, that's a tough pill to swallow at 5. It has nothing to do with his ability at all. At all. But man, you got ultimately probably the best receiver next to him that Beckham's played with. How will that work out? Does Baker have a sophomore slump? Who knows? And the division they play in, Steelers defense got better. The Ravens ultimately got better.
Oh, and the thing with the Ravens is they're always going to be the Ravens. Like their defense is always legit.
Yeah. Now the Bengals, on the other hand, who the fuck knows?
Who the fuck cares?
But yeah, so for him at top 5, wow. And again, he was last year. He was the last 2 or 3 years. He's probably been the second or third receiver going off the board.
Yeah.
It was always a battle between do you get him or Julio Jones. And so to see him at 5, I don't know. To me, that's high.
So I have him at right now. I have him at 4.
Oh wow, you even went higher.
Yes, I have him at 4. I have him jumping Julio.
Oh, whoa! You are drinking. You've been hanging out with Kurt. You drinking that Browns Kool-Aid?
To me, him being around Jarvis Landry is only going to make him better.
It's true.
Him having Nick Chubb as a running back, only going to make him better. Him having Baker Mayfield as a quarterback, only going to make him better. Mm-hmm. I think it's a great situation for him. I think they're going to win a lot of games. I'm not saying that Cleveland's is going to win the Super Bowl this year. That's not what I'm saying at all. But they're going to win games.
Could you imagine being OBJ and going from Eli Manning, the statue, to Baker Mayfield that runs all over the fucking place? Ultimately, I think it's going to be good for him. It's going to be hopefully it's going to be a resurgence. And you never know. To me, he cut his blonde hair, so maybe that's to me. I said there's too many other proven, just safer picks, and you can call me a sissy, but to me, taking him at 5 or even 4, where you got him, to me, I'd put him down with probably in the same neighborhood as Antonio Brown. Mm-hmm. To me, there's just other more solid. Not potentially, both of them could come and, like you said, be the top 1 or 2. But if you're drafting them, your wide receiver 1, that's a big gamble to me.
Yeah,
I want something. Which there's no guarantees at fantasy football. The only guarantee I have is 90% of my guys are going to be hurt by week 2. So. And watch me work those fucking waivers because I'm a magician. But yeah, would you take someone in flux as a gamble with your wide receiver 1? Wide receiver 2, I could see it. But neither one of those dudes are going to hang around for when I would feel comfortable taking him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like there was people jumping on OBJ and with as a number 2, number 3 wide receiver when he was in New York. Mm-hmm. And to me, I think his situation's only better now. And if there's a wide receiver in the league that you can compare to Antonio Brown as far as what he can do after the catch, and the hands he has, and the spectacular catches he can make, to me that's not even that big of a deal.
No,
I'm talking about he can turn small plays, nothing plays, into huge plays. And he's a big play waiting to happen. And my reasoning why I have him jumping Julio, and this has kind of been the knock that I've had on Julio for the last 2 years.
Doesn't get in the end zone.
He does not get in the end zone. And he's injury prone.
Yeah.
And he's only getting older. We're looking at OBJ, we're looking at a guy that's at 5-6 years younger than him.
And then, they brought in Calvin Ridley to kind of...
Yeah.
So there's 2 legitimate targets instead of just one. They have... Well, there's a multitude of weapons down in Atlanta, but yeah, to me, like I said, when it comes to drafting my and now you're getting my secrets here. My running back 1, my wide receiver 1, I like a little bit safer of a play. Mm-hmm. And then to me, I kind of open it up and fly a little bit more seat of my pants. But here's I know we're jumping out of line here, but we might as well stick with the receivers. Is especially a new face in a new place, Mr. Golden Tate. Mm-hmm. And I know for a fact, because the Drop Anchor League, there's always someone that takes Golden Tate in like the first 3 rounds thinking that they're going to get this huge upside. But I've as much as it pains me to say, fellow Domer, I mean, he is what he is. He's a possession receiver. Is he going to take the top off anything? No. And I'm drawing a blank. Where the hell did he go?
Giants.
Giants, that's right. And right now, he's going to get all the balls. Oh, JD just went deep too. Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
Fucking savages.
Savages. I love it. 3-0, bottom of the first with 1 out. Boom! Take that back to Canada, Mr. Paxson. Mr. Big Maple, they ain't scared of you. And ultimately, Golden Tate might be getting all of him, and Evan Ingram might be getting all of the targets because every single one of the other wide receivers are hurt.
Yeah.
and you know what? I think he might do very, very well with Eli because, the short passes, Eli's line sucks. And so, yeah, it might just be 5-yard slants all year to Golden Tate because one of the dudes went out with a torn ACL, and Sterling Shepard has a dislocated thumb, so he's out for a while. So, yeah, Golden Tate and Saquon Barkley might be leading that offense for a while. And you never know, you might see Eli tuck it and run it too. That would be hilarious. But ultimately, I think that, to me, his draft stock's kind of going to stay the same. Where it should be, maybe 10th, 11th, 12th round pick, somewhere in there. Maybe lower, depending on your wide receiver needs and your buys. So, but ultimately, I would say an effective, bye week filler.
Yeah, I think he's going to get some targets.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to. Let's go running backs. What do you think?
Right. Yeah.
What do you think? Probably the biggest mover and shaker of the offseason is Mr. Le'Veon Bell. And going to the Jets, this is kind of a weird thing because normally the Jets have been, they're kind of like the Patriots. You never know which fucking running back to draft because you never know which one's going to, A, play, and B, actually, get the ball, and C, who's getting it towards the end zone to actually get the touchdown points. So, yeah, Le'Veon came out earlier this week and said he wants 500 touches.
Yeah.
This year, not split over 2 years, but this year. And if that's the case, that's gonna. Because now, keep in mind, folks, this league is a point per carry, a point per reception. So if he gets what he wants, that's 500 points in the bag. That's not even counting yardage. That's not counting touchdowns. But here's the but. Did taking a year off hurt or help him?
Help. As a running back?
Yeah.
Absolutely help.
The only thing that would deter me, and I'm not saying deter me, but would kind of make me pump the brakes, is a player like that cuts and hesitates and is patient and explodes like he does. Taking a year off, man, you've got to be very, very careful to... soft tissue injuries are gonna, hamstrings, all of that would scare me as a Le'Veon Bell owner. Now, mind you, he's the only player that actually in the Jets system that did the physical exam twice, just to prove that he's in shape. So.
And I don't think there's any question that he's in shape.
No.
You're talking about a professional athlete. If he's not the best running back in the NFL or hasn't been the best running back in the NFL over the last 5 years, 6 years, he's number 2.
Mm-hmm.
To me, he's in my top 5. He's in my top 5 easy. He might even. To me, it's too early right now to give you my top 3.
Right.
There's a good chance he's going to be in my top 3 come draft day.
Ultimately, I don't think his draft stock is hurt by any means.
No, and this is the thing with Le'Veon. He's kind of always been it seems like every time I draft him, I win.
Not me. I drafted him last year.
Yeah, well, that sucks. But it seems like every time I draft him, I always win. So he's always kind of that guy that I always want to, even if I can remember going back 2 years. And David Johnson was everybody saying, you got to take David Johnson number 1. I had the number 1 pick.
Is that the year he fucked his wrist up?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I took Le'Veon that year. And people were like, oh, you're stupid. I'm like, no, I just feel comfortable with this guy.
He was like that for years, LT. Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
You know, if you got the number 1 overall pick, everyone knew who you were picking.
Yeah.
This year, I don't.
To me,
and just to kind of give you guys a rundown, ESPN, I'll give you the top 10 running backs: Saquon, Zeke, Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Le'Veon, Melvin Gordon, David Johnson, Gurley, James Conner, and Joe Mixon are the top 10. So ultimately, I think that top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'd even go 6 down to Gordon. You could argue that you could take each one of those with the number 1 pick and not be dissatisfied.
Yeah. I would stop it at it. See, I love Le'Veon. I know I just talked great about him, but I would stop it at I would have a hard time drafting Le'Veon before Saquon, Zeke, McCaffrey, or Kamara.
Right.
I just would. I as much as I love Le'Veon, I don't trust the fucking Jets.
Right.
You know, they've doomed. It seems like every time I've ever, you know, I've had Le'Veon and I win. But it seems like every time I get Jets, I lose. Like the Jets just have a knack of fucking fantasy football up.
Yep.
Year in and year out.
Football, period. I'm sure there's a lot of Jets fans that would agree it's football, period, not just fantasy football.
Yeah, so that's the only thing that scares me. I know Le'Veon's going to be a beast, and as long as he's healthy, he's going to tear shit up. Mm-hmm. But I don't know what the fucking Jets are going to do.
Right.
They're capable of fucking shit up.
Exactly. And speaking of Zeke, he's the next one on our list. And the reason he's on the list is his holdout.
Yeah.
His holdout. You know, we touched on this last week. And, you know, in a hierarchy where you have quarterback and wide receiver that are due for contracts a year earlier than you, ultimately, you know, in my opinion, the Cowboys go through Zeke, not the other way around. Can Dak win you games? Sure. Can they do it with other running backs? I don't know. They won't get as many wins.
They're not going to get as many. I don't know. You know, I look at Dallas goes through their offensive line. Mm-hmm. That's where I think number 1 is. So you have Zach Martin, who I think is their best offensive lineman as their right guard.
The best center in the league.
They're going to get Travis Frederick back, who never played a game last year because of health. You know, health, the obvious health issues. So you're getting him back, and I think that's kind of going below the radar, and people aren't really talking about that. But that's a big fucking deal when you're adding one of the best centers in the game to the best offensive line in the game.
Yep.
And you know what you're going to get out of Tyron Smith as the left tackle. The other guys are kind of plug-ins. You know, they're just kind of whoever they can get at the discount price. They're you know, they're throwing in as their other offensive linemen, but they got their 3 keys. You know,
right.
The 3 key guys.
If you got a right tackle, left tackle, and center.
So my only knock on Zeke is, and I know Zeke. I know you want your money, and I know you want your contract and all that, but you have 2 years left on this contract. Those guys on that in the trenches are making you. Yeah. You might be very, very talented, but I tell you what, if you don't have those guys, especially those 3 guys up there, you ain't doing shit, dude. You ain't getting paid ever.
Nope, you might as well be a wide receiver at that point.
And so that's why this bothers me as far as him holding out. Like, you're holding out for your contract, and I get it. And I know that as far as athletes go, and nobody talks about money. That's kind of the unwritten rule. You don't talk about money, contracts, business, any of that stuff. But don't think that those offensive linemen are thinking to themselves right now at camp, showing up for camp today to start the season, and Zeke's nowhere to be found. Don't think those offensive linemen are taking that shit as, you know, we saw it firsthand last year in Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. You know, it didn't take long for those offensive linemen to start, you know, spouting off about Le'Veon. Well, Le'Veon was a hell of a lot more proven than Zeke, and those guys were talking about him. You know, they didn't hold back on what they had to say about him and not showing up and not being there.
Right.
So to me, I think eventually Zeke's going to get smart. He's going to show up. If he wants to sit out, you know, during the training camp here and all that, fine.
Chewing up my hat, dog.
But I see it as he's going to show up when preseason's over and the games and the real games start. Zeke's going to show up. He's going to be fine. Le'Veon did this too. He held out also. Before last year, he held out also, and then week 1 came around. He rolled out there. He had a decent week 1, and then next thing you know, he was back to normal numbers.
I think this is the first training camp he's been to in like 4 years.
Yeah.
So
I'm not really worried about Zeke a whole lot. Now, next year's draft, because I don't think that he's going to get his new contract this year. Next year's draft rolls around, he doesn't have a contract, then I might be worrying about him because he might be sitting next year out. But I think this year they have too much going for them. I really think that they are could be a favorite contender. Yes, absolutely.
And we'll continue with the holdout group and go to Mr. Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, this one scares me. This one scares me a lot because I really think he might be on a different. I really think he might be on a different team come next year. I just don't. The contract, him holding out, it scares me. I think there's a couple other guys on that team that could definitely take over. And I think that the Chargers have they're kind of willing to move on without him, and they're not really all that worried about it. And but to me, he could get traded here in the next couple weeks before the season starts to a team that might be in dire need of a running back, and then he is jumping into your top 5, 6, easily.
Ultimately, with he's. I don't know. Where do they have him listed here? Whoa! Almost had the bar go down.
No, they have him listed at 6, which there's no way I can have him rated as number 6.
And ultimately, I mean, you're with the Chargers. You have a closing window with Phillip Rivers. So yeah, I mean that's something that I don't know. And he hasn't. Well, his rookie year, he didn't even score a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not as if he's as proven as Zeke, as proven as Le'Veon. And yeah, to me that ultimately, if he signs before the season starts, cool, no problem.
Yeah.
If it's a question going into the season starts, he's off my board completely. Unless I can get him very, very late.
Mm-hmm.
Because who's behind him? Austin Eckler, I think.
Yeah, and then they also have the next back. This kind of slips my mind, but it seemed he played a couple games last year and put up pretty decent numbers.
And Eckler did amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's one of those handcuff situations to make sure. I mean that's up to you. But to me, ultimately, that's one I'd kind of veer away from.
Yeah, and I mean if you're handcuffing your first round pick, then I think you're in trouble. I can understand maybe getting the backup to your first round pick in the 14th, 15th round,
but not like round 5 and 6.
Yeah, if you're handcuffing in the 6th, 7th round with your number 1 pick, you might as well just piss your season away.
Give me your money. Well, let's like I said, let's keep the running back train rolling, and Mr. Kareem Hunt, and we all know his situation. What is he out? 6 weeks? 8 weeks? Million weeks?
I don't even really know. 7 or 8 weeks, I want to say.
So, and he's another one that went to Cleveland, correct?
Yes.
So where is he going to fit in with Nick Chubb? Because I think Chubb won above and beyond won the starting position in my mind last year.
Oh yeah.
And will he be a great addition at the middle of the year?
Oh, I mean, to get somebody in the middle of the year that doesn't have any miles, hasn't been hit.
Yeah.
I think it's, I mean, I can't, there will never be a day where I'm going to root for him anymore. So, but I think as far as my fantasy football team goes, yeah, I think if you can draft him 12th, 13th round, yeah, I'm looking at him maybe there. Because you don't know. I mean, running backs are a dime a dozen. They're going to drop. Mm-hmm. They're going to. You're going to have your major injuries with running backs, knee injuries. There's going to be those 3 or 4 running backs at the top of your list that are going to be probably out for a significant time of the year.
You can almost bank on it. It's just who.
Yeah, and if it just so happens to be, hopefully it just doesn't. I would prefer it not to happen to anybody. But if it was to happen to Nick Chubb,
there you go.
There you go. You drafted this guy in the 13th, 14th round. that's a perfect pick. I'm not stretching anywhere inside of that for somebody that's going to be gone for significant time of the season.
No. And what about Jordan Howard? Went from the Bears to the Eagles. And if we all remember, the Eagles last year, I mean, after Jay Ajayi went down, their running back situation got really, really sketchy really, really quick because your boy drafted Jay Ajayi and tried to fill the hole the rest of the year. I mean, Josh Adams...
He was kind of the consistent one that they had last year.
Undrafted, obviously from Notre Dame. But, he came through, and I think Jordan Howard's a great fit there. Look at what Blunt did. And they're kind of the same runner, as far as the straight-ahead style. I would put the speed factor more with Jordan Howard. But the straight ahead, north to south, very similar to LeGarrette Blunt for sure. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, I mean, I remember. Where do they have Howard at?
He's down the list a ways.
Probably, but I remember him being, top 10, top 5, and a few years ago, he's down at number 39. 39.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would value him higher than the 39th running back for sure, but maybe 20.
Yeah,
20. He's definitely a potential flex. Maybe which he could fucking blow up. You never know.
Yeah.
Especially after the last couple seasons, splitting carries with Cohen and over in Chicago. You really, and then I think everyone was just dazzled by what Cohen could do, and he kind of went by the wayside.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think he's a very serviceable, maybe a running back too. Definitely solid flex play, and if you're not even that far on board with him, definitely a bye week fill in for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
So this situation with. This pains me. I didn't want to go here because I didn't want to give away any of my draft knowledge to listeners that potentially are going to be in our draft. But Philly running back situation, I have Miles Sanders, their rookie draft pick out of Penn State. I think Philly wants a running back that is that can catch the ball in the backfield and just a little bit more,
agile.
Yeah. And you know what you're going to get out of Howard. You're going to hand the ball off to him, but you're not going to really throw screen passes off to Howard and all that kind of stuff. He's not really that style of back to me.
He can, but he's not that, burner.
Yeah.
Like Cohen is, and even James White with New England, which he's vastly known for. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we're leading towards more and more and more that this day and age they're not just featuring one back.
Yeah.
So it's something you got to plan around.
And that's the biggest thing with Philly in the first place is I don't know if they have a running back that I'm really going to trust in anyways because last year it was your boy Josh Adams. Then the next week it was fucking Wendell Smallwood, whoever the fuck that guy is. But I remember seeing Wendell Smallwood on a Monday night game out there.
Didn't they sing a song, Mr. Smallwood?
And then fucking Darren Sproles has got to be about 45 years old, but that son of a bitch is probably still playing for him too.
Yeah, probably.
So it's just like you don't know who's gonna be in the backfield for them, and that's why I kind of shy away from them. To me, them going out and using a draft pick on Sanders, maybe they see something in him to where I'm not stretching for him. I'm not drafting him as my running back number 2 guy. But if he's there and I already got 3 running backs, I might target him just to we're gonna take a flyer on him, see what happens.
Yeah, and that's especially in Philly where they're prone to spreading the ball around. Mm-hmm. I mean. And especially when Carson Wentz is healthy, which he better be this year because Nick Foles is gone. And that's perfect segue. How about some quarterbacks? All right, leading off the list, Mr. TB12. And the reason he's on here is there's There's no Gronk. There's no safety blanket. There's no Gronk. No Gronk at all. And wow. ESPN has Brady ranked 15. They have Kyler Murray, Jared Goff, Russell. I'll read you guys the list: Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan, Andrew Luck, Cam Newton, Baker Mayfield, Carson Wentz, Drew Brees, Roethlisberger, Dak, Russell Wilson, Jared Goff, Kyler Murray, and Tom Brady. And Tom Brady is one step ahead of Mitchell Trubisky. Wow. Wow. I didn't really look at this list before that, and I'm kind of shocked. I
mean, there's really no denying it, though. If watching last season, and I understand that he won another Super Bowl because that's just what Tom Brady does. But I mean, what is he, 42 now?
I think 52.
So, I mean, he might be still winning Super Bowls at 52.
I mean, I saw the Face app where they made him old and he has 2 handfuls of rings, so you never know. I'm actually beyond the point of hating Tom Brady. I might as well just.
You got to respect him.
Oh yeah,
you got to respect it. I mean, whether you like him or not, you have to respect what he does.
You kind of have to, otherwise you're gonna go fucking nuts.
But I mean, the proof is there. There was a big time fall off last season, and there was a lot of times, and even in the postseason. Even in the Super Bowl, where they had to rely on other players to get them, whether it was a running game, and Sony Michel just coming out of nowhere last season was huge for them.
I drafted him.
And on the defensive side of the ball, Belichick just always has this defensive philosophy where he's going to basically eliminate one, if not 2, players on the other team, and he does it in every single game, it seems. Every big-time game, he always basically eliminates the 2 best players on the other team.
But according to this list, would you take Dak Prescott over Tom Brady?
In fantasy football, yes.
Oh, wow.
In fantasy football, yes. In trying to go win a Super Bowl? No. Absolutely not.
Not in real football.
But in fantasy football, yes. Yeah.
Now, see, to me, he's probably 6 or 7 for me, still, and that pains me to say it as much as I dislike TB12, but just like you said, you got to respect it. You got to respect what he's done. Now, I think it will be not having Gronk the whole year, like going through training camp and adjusting to it at the beginning will be beneficial rather than trying to do it mid-season and kind of piecing everything together. But ultimately, if you look at the AFC Championship game and ultimately the Super Bowl, it was the pass to Gronk that opened up both those games for the Patriots to win both of those. So you're not going to fill Gronk's spot by any means.
No.
He is quite possibly the biggest...
He's the best tight end of all time.
...matchup challenge ever.
I mean...
Ever. He runs like a deer, but yet built like a moose.
I'm waiting for week 7. Patriots get started off and they're
4-3 as usual.
4-3, or in this case, I'm saying maybe they're going to be the other side, 3-4. And Gronk, is he going to come back?
Have you seen how out of shape he is? He looks like us.
Well, I mean, that doesn't surprise me because we've always kind of seen the partier that he was. Oh, yeah. But I think it was in his contract where it's like, hey, motherfucker, you got to stop being a dipshit for a couple months and get yourself in football shape, goddammit. Because it's in your fucking contract. Right. But now that he doesn't have a contract, he's just like, the dude's going to fucking party his ass off.
Why wouldn't you?
Oh, fuck. The only reason I'm saying it because I'm fucking jealous of the guy. But, But to me, someone like him, I think he could probably whip his ass into shape and probably, give him a month or so, and
could be,
and he can get back in shape. I just don't think that we've seen the last Gronk in the NFL.
Can we please get him in the Monday Night Football booth?
Oh my god,
that'd be fucking amazing. Get rid of trade him for Jason Witten, please, please. No, let's stick on the
I want to see them get Gronk in that in like the on the field booth, like what they had Booger in last year.
The Booger
you
mobile.
got Gronk on the fucking sidelines, just spewing off his fucking logic,
popping tops.
Yeah, drunk as fuck, and oh my god,
Put me up there.
Everybody would be tuning into Monday Night Football. Doesn't even know how big time they could make it if they threw Gronk on and Booger's fucking ride there and let him go at it for a week.
That would be awesome. Well, what do you think of Mr. Aaron Rodgers? I know you said that he's going to go off.
I got Rodgers number 2,
and ESPN has him number 3.
I can't just off of last season and what Patrick Mahomes did. I think it's obvious that he's number 1. I think there's potential that Rodgers could pass him. I do think there's potential there, but I just kind of going back to the safe bet. Mahomes, Andy Reid's offense, loaded on weapons. Now it's kind of looking like Tyreek Hill is not going to miss any time.
No, ultimately
so, not. I mean, if you got all those guys on the field, I think Patrick Mahomes,
Travis Kelce,
you got the best tight end in the game. You have not the best wide receiver, but probably the most electrifying wide receiver.
Yeah.
And what he can do in space. To me, the sky's the limit for that kid. I think he's going to fucking go off. I think he has the perfect coach in the NFL to just fucking exceed for years.
And if his football career seems to go in the shitter, he can always be a voiceover for the Muppets.
But no, I have Rodgers as number 2. I think ESPN, I see they have Deshaun Watson there.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson's never really done it for me. I don't even have him in the top 5. I do think he's a very legitimate fantasy quarterback, but I don't...
Health is another concern with him.
Yes. And the same thing could be said for Rodgers.
Yeah.
But
which Rodgers last year, I think, played on a broken leg or some shit. Like 15 out of the 16 games. So
no, and I think there's a lot of improvement with Green Bay in this past offseason. Matt LaFleur, head coach. We haven't thrown his name around yet here.
Coach him up.
I think he's done enough in his. I know you're talking about a rookie coach. He's never coached in the NFL as a head coach. He's coached obviously, as a coordinator and as a quarterback coach. But I mean, Matt Ryan won the MVP in Atlanta when Matt was there working with him. Matt Ryan hasn't been anywhere close to that since
do
then.
It again? Oh, back-to-back bombs, Mookie. Sorry, folks.
I think Aaron Rodgers, I mean, it was obvious. He needed a change of scenery. There needed to be a different coach coming in there and coaching and calling the plays. I mean, it was like a fucking soap opera last year.
Yes.
So I think you got somebody younger. You got somebody that knows the game, a little bit more exciting. I think it's going to work out perfect. And I think I honestly want to have him as my number 1 quarterback. I want him to pass Mahomes, but Mahomes is just safer right now.
Yep.
But I think come the end of the season, you might be pleasantly surprised with Rodgers. I just think he's going to go off. I think there's a very legitimate shot that he wins the MVP.
Heard it here, folks.
Yes.
Heard it here first.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. I'm not quite as high on him, but I do agree that it is going to be a resurgent year. To me, it's one of those do or die years. And the only guy I would put between, because I like Rodgers at 3. The only guy I would put in between those two is Andrew Luck.
Mm-hmm.
And the vast majority, it's
a legit pick. I have Andrew Luck up there also. I mean, to me, the Colts are kind of my dark horse win the Super Bowl this year.
Well, a lot of the analysts are picking them, so I'm not sure how much of a dark horse that is. But coming from nowhere, like they probably shouldn't even have been in the playoffs last year, and they made the playoffs. Yeah. They're definitely going to make some noise. And, with an aging Brady and, that, to me, the AFC isn't as locked down as it used to be. Mm-hmm. It was always, the Steelers were always there. Who the fuck knows what they're going to do? And so ultimately, yeah, I'm not quite as high, but I'm right there with you with Rodgers. And lastly on the list is Nick Foles, which I think we can both agree on that one. And where do they have him listed? 85th?
31.
Oh, 31. Cool. And there's 32 teams? Oh, he's right above Dwayne Haskins. Fitzmagic. Case Keenum below him. I didn't know Teddy Bridgewater was still in the league. Huh. Okay. All right. Yeah, he's like 4 slots ahead of Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
So that's cool. That's cool. So yeah, I tell you what, please 2K crew, draft him and give me your money.
Yeah, Nick Foles. I got Foles in my top 5 this year, people. I really think he's kind of that breakout guy, dark horse MVP, breakout of the season.
If you were to take him over, let's throw out some names here. They have Stafford as the 25th. Give me a fucking break. That's all Stafford does is throw.
Yeah.
They have Eli fucking Manning over Nick Foles. Are you kidding me? No, Eli should be the 85th quarterback. So yeah, we've kind of covered that, and that's going to wrap up the first list, folks. So let's move on to the next one. The next one is, are these players top 5 in their position? And I think the dude that has the most weight on his shoulders this year going into the fantasy, well, not even fantasy, but regular, just overall NFL, is Juju Smith-Schuster.
Mm.
Can you man up? Can you take that number 1 spot? I think he can, but I couldn't name you another Pittsburgh receiver other than him. Because that's about where I'm at with that. So can he fight through the double teams that AB was getting, where he was only singled? So to me, it's one of those.
I'm going down the list, and the next Pittsburgh receiver on the list is wide receiver 49, Dante Moncrief. So yeah, there's nobody else in town.
Dante Moncrief, I think he was one of those receivers that Peyton Manning made. We've seen how well those have worked out. So yeah, I mean they don't have the gunslinger Jesse James at tight end anymore. So ultimately, I've always been a Big Ben fan. I think he'll get it done. I think Connor's gonna have another great year. Speaking of great, JD just hit a 1-run triple. So it's 5-0, top or bottom of the third, folks. So yeah, they're being fucking savages 2 nights in a row.
Fucking savages.
Fucking savages. But so what do you think? Is he top 5?
No,
I'm not going to put him top 5. Top 10, yeah.
If he had, the problem is when you're talking about Moncrief being your number 2, and the other thing about it is there are some fucking very good wide receivers in this league. I mean, when you're talking about cracking the top 5, that's a tough, contest to crack. I mean, we're talking about some big time names up there, and there's actually, looking at the ESPN ratings, they have him listed at number 8, and there's a couple guys below him that I have over him. I would say I would have Schuster closer to 10, 11 on my list than having him at 8 where he's at.
I agree with you. I'm more comfortable with that 9, 10, 11 spot.
Yeah.
Not even close. Well, I shouldn't say even close. He might end up 7.
Oh, the talent's there. The guy, there's no question the talent.
But yeah, he's definitely not in my wide receiver top 5 for sure. But about Mr. Baker Mayfield.
Top 5.
Top 5.
Fuck no. And I like Baker, and I root for Baker, and I'm rooting for Cleveland, and I hope that they,
ESPN has him just outside the top 5 at 7.
There's too many guys that have proven themselves for more than 1 year.
Yep.
And I'm taking those guys over them. And we're talking about top 5. I said Mahomes number 1, easy. Rodgers number 2. I have Andrew Luck at number 3. I have Carson Wentz 4. And then probably rounding out the top 5 to crack that up, probably Drew. I can't go away from Drew Brees. No.
Well, then you just answered the next one, Carson Wentz, and I'm right there with you. I got Wentz in the top 5. And you already mentioned Brees. And we already had the Brady conversation. I've got him at number 5.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of wraps up the rest of the quarterbacks. What about Todd Gurley?
This is a tough one.
He had
You just don't know what to think about him. I mean, what happened last year?
ESPN has him at 8.
Well, what happened down the stretch last year.
Where'd he go?
Why wasn't he playing in the playoffs? Where was he in the fucking Super Bowl?
Right. As electric and dynamic as he is. And he got paid last year, didn't he? Or am I mistaken? Or I think so. And that's what's causing all this running back turmoil.
Yeah, it's his contract that's getting everybody going. It all started with him getting paid and Le'Veon not getting paid, and it started there. Man, top 5. If he's right there on the edge. He's right there on the edge for me. He can either be in the top 5. He might be 6.
I think 7, where ESPN has him, is a
pretty fair.
Yeah,
I'm just scared. I'm scared about if you're not suited up playing in the fucking Super Bowl,
the biggest game of your life.
When
your team needs you desperately.
And so the only thing I can think of is there has to be injuries. There has to be something there that's keeping him off the field. And fucking Sean McVay won't let us fantasy guys know what the fuck is going on. Like, come on, shoot it to us straight, Sean.
Well, he's pulling a Belichick, keeping it close to the vest.
Fucking let us know. Fantasy football is kind of a big deal. But are you going to get the goddamn ball to Gurley this year? Do I need to draft him in the first round? That's a question I have, and I don't know. If I get that late pick in the first round, I'm going to want to take him so bad, but I'm going to be so scared.
Mm-hmm. I'm right there with you.
To me, I think that I want to think that he's healthy. I think he's going to be healthy. I don't think you're going to see the load as far as him being on the field all the fucking time like he was last year in the first 15 weeks of the season. I think they're going to try to even it out to where, okay, Gurley's not touching the ball 22, 25 times. He's going to touch the ball 17 to 20 times. We're going to try to cut this back a little bit. But Gurley getting the ball 17 fucking times is good enough for me to draft him in the first round.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, top 5. Like I said, I think 7's about fair.
Mm.
About fair. And I had a couple other dudes listed that you wanted to do a flip-flop with, and I can't remember who they were. I had mentioned Greg Olsen getting long in the tooth.
So one of the ones that first kind of was kind of mind-boggling to me when I was looking at this ESPN list was they have Matt Ryan as number 4 in the quarterbacks. And I nothing against Matt Ryan. I think he's a great quarterback. But in the top 4, at number 4 in fantasy football, as far as all the quarterbacks that we've been talking about, and he's number 4, I'm not buying it.
And Wentz is 8, Breeze is 9.
I mean, I'm taking
Russell Wilson's 12.
To me, I look at after Matt Ryan, I got Andrew Luck. I'm taking Andrew Luck over him. After Andrew Luck, there's Cam Newton. Cam Newton's kind of I don't know what to
I'd
think
take
about
Ryan
him.
over Cam.
Baker Mayfield. I'm taking Baker Mayfield over Matt Ryan.
I'd go Matt Ryan over Baker.
Carson Wentz. I'm taking Carson Wentz over him.
All day.
Drew Brees. I'm taking Drew Brees over him. Roethlisberger.
That's kind of a toss-up to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Because
I would have to lean towards Ryan on that one just because of the weapons.
Yeah, the weapons are better there, but Roethlisberger has... There's going to be weeks where he might just throw the ball 70 fucking times just because he feels like it.
That's true.
And if you're throwing the ball 70 times and you're getting a point for every single completion, so even if his percentage is always shit, so he might only complete 32 of them, right. But still,
it's 32 points.
And Russell Wilson, and look at him. I have Russell Wilson over Matt Ryan, and then that kind of there where you get into that 10, 11th. Maybe 12th, right in that area. That's where I have Matt Ryan.
Yeah. Like I said, and Matt Ryan's always been one of those dudes where he'll have a great year. I mean, like the MVP year.
Mm-hmm.
Then have a fucking mediocre year.
Mm-hmm.
And does he have another great year in him? Pretty sure all of his weapons are back.
That's the thing. He should have great years all the time because he has weapons.
Tevin Coleman's gone. Is Devontae Freeman going to be healthy?
Yeah.
So, because that's when Devontae Freeman was going off is when, he had his MVP season. So, to me, he is he top 5 for me? No. Again, he might be that number 7 or 8 for me.
Okay, so you have him higher than me then, because I have him maybe slip in the top 10.
Yeah, and like I said, he's out of everyone that we've talked about, he's the most wild card-ish one out of all of them.
And he, like you said, he has the potential easily to be where at 4 at the end of the season, he has the potential to be there. I just haven't seen it in a long time. So that's why it scares me away from him.
And what was the last one you wanted to bring up? Because I had Phillip Rivers down, and Phillip Rivers is definitely not a top 5.
Well, one of the ones that just shocked me too is in here. I'm looking at we haven't talked about the tight end. You have Ebron at number 11.
that blows my mind, considering the year he had last year. Granted, didn't have a shit ton of yards.
No,
but he lead the league in touchdown receptions.
If he didn't lead the league in
second,
touchdowns, he was right fucking there. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if somebody like Kelsey had more than him.
Yeah,
but he was right there.
Kelsey had more catches, had more yards, but Ebron got in the end zone way more than he did in Detroit, and actually caught the ball, which is probably irritating to Lions fans. But
and a lot of it is Jack Doyle being hurt for the Colts last year and him being back healthy, obviously this year. But to me, Ebron proved himself last year. He's the guy. He was for about the entire season, with exception of Hilton. Yeah. He was Andrew Luck's favorite target. I mean, he was his go-to guy. So I don't see that changing whether Doyle's on the field or off the field.
And to kind of give our listeners a little break, because we haven't really touched on tight ends. They've got Kelsey 1, Ertz 2, George Kittle 3, Evan Ingram 4, O.J. Howard 5. And Ebron's down at 11. Now, Hunter Henry 6, Jared Cook 7, Delonte Walker 8. And Delonte Walker's another one that seems like every time I pick him up, he takes a shit. Otherwise, when he's on someone else's team, he banks. So, Vance McDonald, David Njoku, and Ebron. And I would move, on this list right here, I would move Ebron up to
5.
In my opinion, I would move Howard up to 4, take Ingram, put him down to 6, and then move Ebron up to 5. Do a little house cleaning there, but I'm pretty sure you can't argue the top 3.
No.
The only argument you could have is Ertz going to get more targets than Kelsey? That's the only argument. Those two are 1 and 2, and I'm pretty sure if you drafted either one, you're not going to be disappointed.
Oh, absolutely not. And the thing is, there's a good chance that Ertz might be your number 1 tight end at the end of the season, especially with
Carson Wentz back all year.
Back. I mean, it's no secret there who Wentz's favorite target is. And when you get when Foles was playing, I think Foles kind of leaned on Alshon Jeffrey.
Yeah.
To where when Wentz is there, Alshon Jeffrey kind of disappears a little bit, and that's why kind of a whole different conversation. But that's a wide receiver that he's off my radar. I'm not even paying any attention to Jeffrey.
No, that's the first time we brought his name up.
So I mean, but you're talking about a wide receiver that has potential to be a wide receiver number 2. But he's one that I'm not even looking at, even taking the time to think about. And that's just because he's never been one of Wentz's favorite targets. Now Zach Ertz, if Wentz is there all season last year, Zach Ertz he might have been the number 1 tight end. He was all the way up until the point that Foles came back.
Yep. So like I said, the only real argument in the top 3 is, like I said, ultimately who's going to get more targets.
Yeah.
And even throwing George Kittle in there now that Jimmy G's back.
That was actually one of the other quarterbacks that we were going to talk about.
And Garoppolo, I can't put him in my top 5 I can't. Right now, he could be one of those wild card guys that you pick up to fill a bye week.
Mm-hmm.
And that's nothing against him. It's just how's the knee going to hold up? Ultimately, when he's playing and healthy, all he does is win.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
No, so I think, speaking about Garoppolo, I think in a lot of drafts he's not going to be drafted. If he is, he's going to be very late. But I think looking at this list of quarterbacks, if there's one guy that's down below, I'll say below 15, below Tom Brady on this list, if there's a guy that has the potential to jump into maybe the top 7 or 8, I think it's Garoppolo.
Yeah. And ESPN has him at what, 22?
Correct.
Yeah, 22. So ultimately, yeah, I and tight end has always been that situation where there's 1, 2, and 3, maybe a 4, but it's always fun to watch everyone scramble once someone takes. Well, in a lot of drafts, Bill Beck would take Gronk in the first round, which ultimately, I mean, if you think about it, he put up wide receiver numbers most of the time. So not a bad move. Would I waste a first round pick on him? No, but ultimately that's, Gronk was always 1. And then there was like a group of 4 or 3 that if you got one of those dudes, you were happy. Mm-hmm. Now I could, even the top, even going down to Ebron, I don't think any one of those dudes are going to be a bad pick. And now, granted, some are better than others, but once you get past Kittle on this list, taking Ebron out of it, because I think Ebron's way better than all those in-between guys, they'll have a game where they have 2 points, and they'll have a game they have 20. Mm-hmm. And they'll have a game with 3, and then 22. Mm-hmm. So, whereas Gronk and especially Kelsey and Ertz, I mean, they'll consistently put up 13, 15, 18, 20 points. So, where that falls in your draft strategy, I have no idea. But, if you're drafting any one of those 3 in the first round, give me your money. And please play in our league, because I will get your money if you do that. Well, Mr. 2Ks, that was a pretty good agenda, because we're at an hour 6. So
yeah,
hour kind of flew by.
It was good. We hadn't talked about football for a while, so it was good to kind of jump back on that football frenzy. I sent
2Ks a text this morning. I was like, hey, you want to talk about fantasy football? The response I got was, I thought you'd never fucking ask. So, but I wanted to do it, but I wanted to do it a little bit differently. Instead of draft strategies and take this guy over this guy, I just kind of want to do a little different approach to it. So that's kind of why we did it this way, and that way too, we're not giving away any of our draft secrets. Mm-hmm. But so yeah, I hope this spurns a lot of conversation in the group, because that's one of the best parts about fantasy football is you're only right at the end. And what you think is, I've walked away from many draft rooms going, fuck yes, my team is unbeatable. And then after week 2 have 9 injuries. Mm-hmm. Now, it wasn't last year, it was the year before. I could have fielded an entire team that went on season-ending injuries by week 5. Somehow made the playoffs and finished 3rd. So don't tell me I can't work the waiver wire, because your boy has some talent. And speaking of that, just to give you guys another recap, the draft, August 23rd. Probably about 7:30. Hopefully up at Drop Anchor here in Marcellus, and we are doing it live. So you don't have to come. You don't have to be there. It would be fun. But if you are coming, make sure you bring something to draft on, because, well, hell, nowadays you can draft on your phone, where it used to be you had to have a laptop or something. So bring your draftables. Well, you don't even have to bring your money, because you're going to give it to me by the 21st at 5 o'clock. And like 2Ks and I were talking about, we're aiming to fill one league. It's first come, first serve. we're doing 10-man league. Just to kind of recap, a 10-man league. If we get 12 or any other, we will try to fill another one. But we are not expanding. I have a very good feeling we won't need to contract down to 8 or anything like that, just judging from the buzz that we've gotten so far. So it is, and especially if you want to play with 2Ks and myself, get your money in early, reserve your spot, because if you're looking to talk shit with us and play with the big boys, then get your money in. Otherwise, you'll be at the kiddie table with the other league, which if we need some fill-in, 2Ks and I might dip down and have a team together. You never know. Yeah, get that money in early.
And let us know on Facebook too.
Yeah.
Whether or not if you're in or if you're interested in it. There's a little bit of time yet until we need to have the money to buy in and all that.
Here's ultimately what I would really, really like to do is, once you send the PayPal to ryanmjackson36@gmail.com, once you send the money, take a screenshot on your phone and then post it in the group. I'll get a fantasy football thread going, post it in the group so I know you've paid. That's kind of your receipt. And so, and we're doing it, like I said, PayPal, so I don't have to chase folks down for money. I've already gotten, like I said, 1 for sure, possibly 2 that are not in Michigan. So I'm not mailing checks or anything like that. So we're just going to do everything through PayPal that way. And that way, too, I don't have to have it, because if we have 2 10-man teams, it's $1,000. I don't want $1,000 cash chilling at my house.
Yeah.
And so, if we do it PayPal, at least I don't have to physically have it. And it's a little bit safer that way. So, Mr. 2Ks, anything else to wrap up, my friend?
No, sir.
All right. Best color man in the league. Not the best color man in the league for nothing, folks. So, I will. This is, like I said, we record on Friday. I will try to post something tomorrow concerning the Fantasy Football League, the rules and everything we're talking about now. And ultimately, this will come out on Tuesday. So there's going to be plenty of time between Tuesday and the 21st to give me your money. And speaking of money, don't forget to check out Not This Weekend. Yep. There's the sheep. Morgan's mad because we stopped talking fantasy football. The Jerry and Danny Modern Memorial Outing is the 3rd. So get on the group. I will repost that so you can get your entry forms into Jerry so that he can kind of plan for the plan for the crowd. And no, Morgan will not be playing. And and you'll be seeing the 2K studs, as we're known. I don't know who knows us by that, but I made it up for our Facebook chat. Me, Christian, Kyle, and our senior golf analyst, Mr. Jacob Berg. So if you guys are playing, we do accept side bets because the Modern outing is kind of one of the more relaxed outings. They don't give a whole lot of prizes for first, second, third. But you know what? We'll bet drinks, we'll bet beers, or money. So, and depending on your team, we might actually give you a stroke or two. You never know. You never know. So, with all that being said, folks, it's getting to be that exciting time of year. Baseball's winding down. Even though my Red Sox are so fucking hot right now.
Fucking savages.
Savages, I tell you what. See what happens when they don't play in England? Fuck. Just beat the Yankees up. But yeah, they're in Fenway instead of a soccer stadium. But yeah, let's get this fantasy football rolling. Let's get regular football rolling. Let's get college football rolling. To me, this is the most exciting time of the year. So I think everyone's in for a very, very nice treat because I'm fucking stoked. I'm stoked. I can tell 2K's is stoked too. He's trying to maintain his savage quietly. All right, folks, we'll get you out of here on that. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.